The red warning lights flashed across the bridge of the Human Space Command flagship. Admiral Kang Dae-ho stood before the main screen, watching a message that would change everything. His dark eyes reflected the alien words scrolling past him. Dozens of languages he had never seen before. "Sir, we're receiving this transmission on all emergency frequencies," said Lieutenant Colonel Bae Sung-min from his communication station. His fingers moved quickly across the controls, trying to clean up the signal. "It's coming from somewhere near the Kepler system." The message was desperate. Even without understanding most of the alien languages, Dae-ho could hear the fear in the voice that spoke. The being on the screen had pale blue skin and large silver eyes that seemed to glow with their own light. When it spoke in broken English, its voice shook. "Any civilization that receives this message, please listen. I am Fleet Commander Zenthara of the Galactic Defense Coalition. Our alliance is dying. For 300 years we have fought the Void Swarm. They consume everything. They destroy entire star systems. We cannot stop them anymore." Captain Lee So-min moved closer to the Admiral's side. She was his best tactical advisor, known for seeing patterns that others missed. "Sir, our long-range sensors are picking up massive energy signatures from that direction. Whatever's happening out there, it's big." The alien commander continued speaking. Behind her, explosions lit up what looked like the bridge of a damaged ship. "Our combined fleets once numbered 50,000 vessels. The Aldari brought their mine ships. The Nexari brought their crystal dreadnoughts. The Vorthak brought their storm riders. The Kelani brought their deep-sea cruisers. The Threx brought their high fighters. Now we have less than 300 ships left." Dae-ho felt his stomach tighten. 50,000 ships reduced to 300. Whatever this void swarm was, it had crushed the greatest alliance in galactic history. "The fortress world of Kepler 442b is our last stronghold," Zenthara said. Tears ran down her blue cheeks. "If we fall here, the swarm will spread across the galaxy. Every world, every civilization will face the same fate. There will be nothing left but emptiness and hunger." The transmission cut to static, then cleared again. This time it showed space around a brown and green planet. Thousands of dark shapes moved between the stars like a plague of insects. They were bioships, organic vessels that pulsed with their own evil life. Each one was the size of a human city, and there were so many that they blocked out the starlight. "Dear God," whispered Commander Park Ji-woo from the weapons station. He was the head of their experimental weapons division, a man who had seen every type of destructive technology humans had created. "Look at the size of that fleet." So-min was already running calculations on her tactical computer. "Sir, I count at least 50,000 enemy vessels, maybe more. They're surrounding the planet completely." She paused, studying the data. "But there's something strange about their attack patterns." "What do you mean?" Dae-ho asked. "They're too organized, too perfect. Look at this." So-min brought up a tactical display that showed the enemy movements. Every ship moves in exact formation. They turn at the same moment. They fire at the same targets. "It's like they're all controlled by one mind." Park Ji-woo nodded slowly. "A hive mind would explain their success. No confusion, no hesitation, perfect coordination." He turned to face the Admiral. "But it might also be their weakness." "Explain." "Hive minds are efficient, but they're predictable. They follow patterns. If we could find those patterns." Park Ji-woo's eyes lit up with sudden understanding. "Sir, our new weapons might actually work against something like this." For the past 5 years, humanity had been developing military technologies that other species would think were impossible. They had reality distortion cannons that used quantum uncertainty as a weapon. They had temporal displacement mines that could trap enemy ships in time loops. They had nanoswarm defenses that learned and adapted faster than any computer. Other alien species that humanity had met in recent years always commented on how chaotic human thinking was. Where they saw mathematical precision and logical order, humans saw creative solutions and random inspiration. What they called flawed thinking, humans called innovation. "The alien coalition has been fighting this war for 3 centuries, So-min said, studying more of the battle data. "They're using conventional energy weapons, standard shield technology, predictable military tactics. The Void Swarm has had 300 years to learn how to counter everything they do." The transmission from Zenthara came back online. This time, her ship was clearly dying. Fires burned behind her, and the artificial gravity was failing. She floated as she spoke, her silver eyes filled with the knowledge of defeat. "This is our final message. To any civilization that hears this, do not come to our aid. Run, hide, go beyond the galactic rim where the swarm cannot find you. Learn from our failure. United, we were strong, but not strong enough. The Void Swarm adapts to everything we throw at them. They learn our tactics and turn them against us. Daeho made a decision that would echo through galactic history. Bay, open a secure channel to Earth Command. Sir? Bay looked confused. We were ordered to maintain radio silence during this patrol. Override those orders. Priority Alpha communication. While Bay established the connection, Somin pulled up star charts showing the route to the Kepler system. Sir, it would take our entire fleet 3 weeks to reach that location using fold space drives. By then by then it will be over, Daeho finished. But maybe that's exactly when we need to arrive. The connection to Earth Command opened. General Morrison's face appeared on the screen, looking tired and worried. Admiral, you're supposed to be maintaining communications blackout. What's your status? General, we've intercepted a distress call from an alien alliance. They're fighting a war against something called the Void Swarm. The alliance is losing badly, sir. They're down to their last few hundred ships? Morrison's expression hardened. Admiral, your orders are clear. Humanity maintains neutrality in alien conflicts. We're not ready for galactic war. With respect, sir, I disagree. Daeho turned to face his crew. Every officer on the bridge was watching him, waiting for his decision. We have 47 ships in this fleet. 47 ships with weapons and technology that no alien species has ever seen before. We might be their only hope. Or you might be leading humanity to destruction, Morrison replied. Those orders stand, Admiral. Return to patrol route and maintain neutrality. Daeho looked around his bridge one more time. Somin gave him a small nod. Park Ji-woo was already bringing the experimental weapons online. Even young Bay had his hand hovering over the fold space navigation controls. General, I'm sorry, but I cannot obey that order. Daeho straightened his shoulders. Sometimes doing the right thing means disobeying the safe thing. Daeho out. He cut the transmission before Morrison could respond. Turning to his navigation officer, he gave the order that would change everything. Set course for the Kepler. System, maximum fold space speed. Alert all ships in the fleet. He paused, looking out at the stars. We're going to war. The human fleet moved through fold space like ghosts sliding between dimensions. 47 ships, each one carrying the hopes and fears of their crews as they traveled toward what might be their destruction. Admiral Daeho walked the corridors of his flagship, visiting each section to see how his people were preparing for the impossible. In the weapons bay, Chief Engineer Yang Soo-jin worked without sleep. Her hands moved quickly over control panels that glowed with strange blue light. The reality distortion cannons were humanity's most secret weapon, and also the most dangerous. They could tear holes in space itself, but one small mistake could destroy the ship that fired them. How are we looking, Chief? Daeho asked, watching her adjust a device that seemed to bend light around itself. The quantum uncertainty generators are stable, sir, Yang replied, wiping sweat from her forehead. But I've never tested them against living targets this large. The alien bioships might react differently than our computer models predict. Different how? Yang paused her work and looked at him with tired eyes. Sir, these weapons work by making reality uncertain. They force enemy ships to exist in multiple states at once until observation collapses them into destruction. But if the bioships have some kind of consciousness, some awareness of their own existence, they might be able to resist the quantum effects. Daeho nodded slowly. Everything about this mission was unknown territory. Do your best, Chief, that's all. Any of us can do. 3 decks down, Lieutenant Kim Hyun-woo sat in his small captain's quarters, staring at pictures of his family back on Earth. At 28, he was the youngest ship captain in the fleet, and the weight of that responsibility felt heavier. With each passing hour, his ship, the Determined, was one of the smaller vessels, but it carried some of their most experimental technology. A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. Come in. Captain Choi Min-ho entered carrying 2 cups of coffee. At 55, he was the oldest captain in the fleet and had fought in humanity's last major war 15 years ago. Thought you might need this. Thank you, sir. Hyun-woo accepted the coffee gratefully. Can I ask you something? Of course. How do you deal with the fear? I keep thinking about those 50,000 enemy ships. Even if our weapons work perfectly, the numbers are impossible. Min-ho sat down across from him, his weathered face showing understanding. You know what I learned in my first real battle? The enemy doesn't care about numbers when they're dying. 1 human ship that fights unpredictably can cause more damage than 10 ships that fight by the book. But the aliens have been fighting this war for 300 years. They must know every tactic possible. Every alien tactic, yes, Min-ho smiled grimly. But they've never fought humans before. We don't think like other species. Where they see logical order, we see creative chaos. Where they calculate probability, we rely on instinct and luck. Hyun-woo thought about this. Is that really enough against such odds? Kid, let me tell you something about human military history. We've never won a war by being stronger or having better technology. We win by being more stubborn, more creative, and more willing to try impossible things. The aliens out there are fighting a mathematical war. We're going to fight a human war. In the science lab, Dr. Yoon Jae-sung studied every piece of data they had collected about the Void Swarm. The alien transmission had included tactical recordings of past battles, and he was looking for patterns that others had missed. His computer screen showed analysis after analysis, but one discovery made him call for the Admiral immediately. "Sir, you need to see this," Jae-sung said when Daeho arrived. "I've been studying the swarm's response times in battle situations. Look at this data." The screen showed a timeline of a battle between the Coalition and the swarm. Every time the Coalition ships changed tactics, there was a small delay before the swarm responded. "The delay averages 4.7 seconds, Jae-sung explained. "At first, I thought it was just the time needed for new orders to reach their ships, but then I noticed something else. The delay only happens when the Coalition does something truly unpredictable." "What do you mean?" "When they follow standard military doctrine, the swarm responds instantly. But when they make random decisions, unexpected moves, there's always this delay. I think their hive mind has trouble processing true randomness." Daeho felt excitement building in his chest. "How long is this delay?" 4.7 seconds on average. Sometimes as long as 6 seconds if the action is completely illogical. Jae-sung pulled up more data. "Sir, if we could coordinate our entire fleet to act randomly at the exact same moment, we might have almost 5 seconds where the enemy can't respond effectively." 5 seconds doesn't sound like much. "With our weapons, sir, 5 seconds is an eternity. The reality distortion cannons can fire and hit their targets in less than 2 seconds. The temporal displacement mines can activate in 1 second. If we can catch them in that delay period." Meanwhile, in the communications center, Lieutenant Colonel Bae Sung-min was monitoring transmissions from the battle zone. The news was getting worse every hour. The Coalition forces were down to less than 200 ships now. The planet below was being bombarded from orbit, and billions of alien civilians were dying. "Any word from the Coalition survivors?" Daeho asked when he visited the communications center. "Some scattered transmissions, sir. Most of it is tactical data about enemy positions. But I did pick up something interesting. A played a recording of an alien voice speaking in broken English. Human ships, if you exist, if you can hear this, stay away. The swarm learns everything. Every weapon we use, every tactic we try, they adapt to it within hours. They have turned our own strategies against us. Save yourselves." The message was from Commander Zenthara, but her voice sounded different now, hollow, defeated. "She doesn't know we're coming," Daeho said quietly. "Sir, should we respond? Let them know help is on the way?" "No, if the swarm is listening to their communications, we don't want them to know about us until we're ready." Daeho paused. "How much longer until we reach the system?" 18 hours, sir." 18 hours. Daeho wondered if there would be anyone left to save by then. Back in the weapons bay, Yang Soo-jin finished the final preparations on their most experimental weapon system. The nanoswarm defenses were tiny robots, each one smaller than a grain of sand, but together they could form a cloud of intelligent destruction around each ship. Unlike the aliens' predictable defense systems, the nanoswarms used artificial stupidity instead of artificial intelligence. Artificial stupidity? "Captain," Lee So-min asked when Yang explained the system to her. "Yes, ma'am. Instead of programming them to be smart, we program them to be random. They make stupid decisions, illogical choices, completely unpredictable movements. Against an enemy that relies on prediction and calculation, stupidity becomes the ultimate defense." So-min shook her head in amazement. "Only humans would weaponize randomness and stupidity." "That's exactly why it might work, ma'am. No alien species would ever think to try something this crazy." As the fleet continued its journey through fold space, each crew member prepared in their own way. Some prayed to various human gods. Others wrote letters to families they might never see again. A few simply slept, trusting their training and their equipment. Admiral Daeho stood on the bridge, watching the swirling colors of fold space outside the main window. In 18 hours, they would drop into normal space and face an enemy that had defeated the greatest alliance in galactic history. They would be outnumbered more than 1,000 to 1, but they were human. And humans had never been very good at accepting impossible odds. "Admiral," So-min said from her station, "I've finished the tactical analysis. If Dr. Yoon is right about the delay in their response time, and if our weapons work as designed, I think we can do this." Think? Somin smiled. Sir, in 18 hours we're going to find out if human chaos can beat alien order. I'd say our chances are unpredictable. Deho laughed despite the tension. Captain, that might be the most encouraging thing anyone has said all day. The fleet flew on through the darkness between stars, carrying with them humanity's greatest weapon, the absolute refusal to accept that anything was truly impossible. The human fleet dropped out of fold space at the edge of the Kepler system like ghosts appearing from nothing. Admiral Deho stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at a sight that made his blood run cold. The space around the fortress planet was filled with so many dark bioships that they looked like a swarm of angry insects blocking out the stars. Maintain radio silence, Deho ordered quietly. All ships hold position and activate stealth systems. Captain Lee So-min worked at her tactical station, counting enemy vessels. Her face grew paler with each number that appeared on her screen. Sir, I'm reading 53,000 Void Swarm bioships. Maybe more. They're arranged in perfect formation around the planet. Through the main window, they could see the battle raging in the distance. Bright flashes of energy weapons lit up the darkness as the last coalition ships fought desperately against impossible odds. The alien vessels moved with mathematical precision, each one following exact patterns as they attacked their enemies. Where are our people? Asked Commander Park Ji-woo from the weapons station. Captain Shin Hae-won, commanding the stealth reconnaissance ship, had already moved closer to the battle zone. Her voice came through the communication system, carefully keeping her signal hidden from enemy sensors. Sir, I'm detecting only 47 coalition vessels still active. They're clustered around the planet's north pole, trying to protect some kind of evacuation sites on the surface. Deho watched the tactical display as red dots representing coalition ships winked out one by one. Each disappearing light meant hundreds of alien crew members were dying. How long can they hold out? At current loss rates, maybe 2 hours, So-min replied. The swarm is taking their time, destroying them slowly and methodically. Dr. Yoon Jae-sung was studying the enemy formations from his station. Sir, I'm confirming what we suspected. The Void Swarm moves with perfect coordination. Every ship turns at exactly the same moment. They fire their weapons in synchronized waves. It's like watching one giant organism instead of individual ships. What about our theory? The delay when they face randomness? I'm seeing it here too, sir. When a coalition ship breaks formation and tries something unexpected, there's a brief pause in the swarm's response. Just like we calculated, about 4.7 seconds. Young Lieutenant Kim Hyun-woo was piloting a small ship closer to the battle, using advanced sensors to study the alien bioships. Admiral, these things are incredible. They're not built, they're grown. I can see them healing damage in real time, regenerating armor and weapons. No wonder the Coalition couldn't stop them. The battle was ending badly for the Coalition. As they watched, 3 more alien ships exploded under concentrated fire from the swarm. The remaining Coalition vessels were trying to fall back to the planet's surface, but the bioships surrounded them completely. Sir, incoming transmission, announced Lieutenant Colonel Bae Seung-min. It's on all emergency frequencies. The main screen flickered to life, showing the familiar blue face of Commander Zenthara, but she looked different now. Her silver eyes were dim with exhaustion, and her pale skin was marked with cuts and burns. Behind her, the bridge of her ship was barely holding together. This is Fleet Commander Zenthara of the Galactic Defense Coalition, she said, her voice heavy with defeat. To any civilization monitoring this frequency, our defense has failed. The Void Swarm has won. She paused as explosions shook her ship. For 300 years, we believed that unity and cooperation could overcome any threat. We were wrong. The Swarm adapts to everything we try. They learn our tactics faster than we can develop new ones. More coalition ships died as she spoke. The tactical display showed only 31 vessels remaining. I am broadcasting the tactical data from this entire war to any species that might benefit from our failure, study our mistakes, learn from our defeat, but do not try to fight them, run, hide, go beyond the galactic rim where they cannot follow. Zenthara looked directly into the camera, and for a moment it seemed like she was speaking directly to the human fleet. We united 5 great civilizations, the greatest military alliance in galactic history. Together, we were strong. Together, we were smart, together we were organized, and together we have failed. The transmission flickered as her ship took more damage. The Aldari brought their telepathic coordination. The Nexari brought their crystal technology. The Vorthak brought their storm manipulation. The Kelani brought their deep space experience. The Threx brought their hive tactics. None of it mattered. Against an enemy that thinks like a machine and adapts like evolution, all our order and logic meant nothing. As if to prove her point, the last coalition dreadnought exploded in a brilliant fireball. Now only 12 small ships remained, desperately trying to reach the planet's surface. This is our final transmission, Xanthara continued. The fortress world of Kepler 442b will fall within the hour. Billions of civilians are trapped on the surface. We cannot save them, we cannot save ourselves. Her ship shuddered under another attack. If there are gods in this universe, I pray they will remember us as we were, not as we died. Xanthara out, the transmission cut to static. On the tactical display, her ship's signal vanished as it was torn apart by bioship weapons. The bridge of the human flagship was silent. 47 ships against 53,000. No one spoke, but everyone was thinking the same thing. This was suicide. Sir, Bay said quietly, I'm picking up another signal, much weaker. It's coming from the planet's surface. A new voice came through the speakers, speaking in the same broken English. Anyone out there, please help. This is Xanthara. My ship is destroyed, but I survived the crash. There are maybe 300 of us left on the surface. Coalition survivors from different species. The swarm is sending ground forces. We have perhaps 1 hour before they reach us. Deho closed his eyes. 300 alien survivors against 53,000 enemy ships? The smart choice was obvious. Retreat. Preserve the human fleet. Report back to Earth about this threat. Let humanity prepare for the inevitable expansion of the void swarm, the safe choice. The logical choice, the choice that would save human lives. Admiral, So-Min said softly, we should go. We can't save them, and we can't risk exposing humanity to this threat. She's right, sir, Park Ji-woo added. Our orders were clear. Maintain neutrality, gather intelligence, and return home. Deho opened his eyes and looked around the bridge. Every officer was watching him, waiting for the decision that would define not just their mission, but perhaps humanity's place in the galaxy. Hyun-woo, he said finally. The young captain's voice came through the communication system from his small ship. Yes, sir? What do you think we should do? There was a long pause. When Hyun-woo spoke again, his voice was steady and sure. Sir, I joined the Space Command to protect people. It doesn't matter if they're human or alien. Those survivors down? There are people, and they're going to die if we don't help them, even against impossible odds? Especially against impossible odds, sir. That's what humans do, another voice joined the conversation. Captain Minho from his battle cruiser. The kid's right, Admiral. We didn't come all this way to watch innocent people die. But we're outnumbered 1,000 to 1, So-Min protested. So, said Chief Engineer Yang Soo-jin from the weapons bay. We're human. When have odds ever stopped us before? Deho felt something change in his chest. Fear was still there, but it was being replaced by something stronger, determination. Stubbornness. The uniquely human refusal to accept that anything was truly impossible. All ships, he announced over the fleet communication system, prepare to decloak on my mark. We're going to save those survivors. Sir, Dr. Yoon said from his station, the moment we reveal ourselves, the entire swarm will focus on us. We'll have maybe 5 seconds of surprise before they adapt. Then we better make those 5 seconds count. Deho turned to face his crew. People, we're about to make first contact with an enemy that has never seen human technology or human tactics. They've spent 3 centuries learning how to fight aliens. Today they're going to learn how humans fight. He moved to his command chair and activated the fleet-wide communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Deho. In 30 seconds, we decloak simultaneously. Remember, we're not here to win this war. We're here to save 300 people who trusted the galaxy to protect them. The countdown began. 30 seconds to reveal humanity to the galaxy. 30 seconds to either save innocent lives or watch his entire fleet die trying. 5 seconds, So-Min announced. Deho took a deep breath. For those who can't fight for themselves, mark. 47 human ships materialized out of nothing, appearing like ghosts becoming solid in the space around the void swarm. For the first time in galactic history, an unknown species had entered the ancient war. The universe was about to discover what human chaos could do to alien order. The moment 47 human ships materialized in space, the entire void swarm froze. For the first time in 300 years of war, something had appeared that their hive mind could not immediately understand or categorize. 53,000? Bio-ships hung motionless in space, their collective consciousness struggling to process this new threat. Admiral Deho counted the seconds in his head. 1, 2. The delay was exactly as Dr. Yoon had predicted. All ships execute random attack pattern alpha. Daeho commanded. Remember, no coordination, no logic, pure chaos. Captain Choi Minho's dreadnought was the first to move, and what he did made no military sense at all. Instead of taking a defensive position or targeting the nearest enemies, he accelerated his massive ship directly into the center of the swarm formation while spinning like a child's toy. His ship rotated on 3 different axes at once, making it impossible to predict his course. The bioships around him hesitated. Their hive mind tried to calculate his trajectory, his target, his strategy, but there was no strategy. Minho was flying purely on instinct and 30 years of combat experience. 3. 4. Temporal displacement miles away, Minho announced calmly, as if he was discussing the weather. His ship released dozens of small devices that looked harmless floating in space. But the moment they activated, reality began to bend around them. The mines created localized time bubbles where seconds stretched into minutes. Bioships caught in these fields found themselves moving incredibly slowly while the rest of the battle continued at normal speed. Some swarm vessels tried to fire their weapons, but their energy beams crawled through space like thick honey. 4.7 seconds. The delay was over. The Void Swarm's hive mind finally processed the threat and began to respond. Thousands of bioships turned toward the human fleet, their organic weapons charging with deadly energy. But they were already too late. Reality distortion cannons fire at will, ordered Chief Engineer Yang Sujin from her position coordinating the weapon systems. The human ships opened fire with weapons that should not have existed. The reality distortion cannons did not shoot energy or metal projectiles. Instead, they fired pure uncertainty itself. Where the beams struck enemy bioships, the vessels began existing in multiple quantum states at the same time. A swarm bioship would suddenly be intact, destroyed, half-melted, and completely vaporized all at once. The quantum uncertainty lasted. Only microseconds before observation collapsed the multiple possibilities into a single reality. Unfortunately for the swarm, that reality was always destruction. Direct hit on enemy formation 7, reported Captain Lee So-min, watching her. Tactical display with amazement. 64 bioships just stopped existing. Lieutenant Kim Hyun-woo led his squadron of smaller ships in what human military doctrine called calculated chaos. His 5 vessels moved in patterns so random they looked like they were being piloted by drunk children. One ship would accelerate straight up while another dove toward the planet. A third would fly sideways while spinning, and a fourth would suddenly stop and reverse direction. Nano-swarm deployment successful, Hyun-woo reported as his ships released clouds of microscopic robots. The nano-swarms looked like glittering dust in space, but each particle was a tiny weapon with artificial stupidity instead of artificial intelligence. Where alien defense systems tried to predict and counter threats, the nanoswarms made completely random decisions. They would attack the strongest shields with the weakest weapons, or ignore obvious targets to assault unimportant antenna arrays. Their stupidity made them impossible to counter because there was no logic to counter. "This is incredible, Doctor," Yoon said from his science station, watching the battle data stream across his screens. "The swarm's adaptation protocols are failing completely. They can't learn to counter pure randomness." The bioships tried to fight back, but their perfect coordination was now working against them. When one ship identified a threat and shared that information with the hive mind, all 53,000 vessels tried to respond to the same target at the same time. This created massive confusion as ships crashed into each other trying to follow identical orders. Captain Shin Hae-won's stealth ship appeared directly in the middle of a swarm formation, decloaked for exactly 3 seconds to deploy gravity bombs, then vanished again. The bombs created tiny black holes that lasted just long enough to tear apart nearby bioships before safely evaporating. Where did that human ship go? The swarm's collective consciousness seemed to ask itself. By the time they figured out Hae-won had moved to a completely different location, she was already attacking again somewhere else. Commander Park Ji-woo coordinated the experimental weapons from his position on the flagship. "Probability scramblers online," he announced, targeting enemy prediction algorithms. The probability scramblers were perhaps the most insane weapon humans had ever created. They fired beams that changed the mathematical constants of space in small areas. Where they hit, the laws of physics became temporarily unreliable. Alien ships would fire their weapons and the energy beams would curve upward for no reason, or their shields would randomly fail because the electromagnetic force suddenly worked differently. "Enemy Formation 12 is breaking apart," So-min reported. "They can't maintain formation when physics keeps changing around them." The Void Swarm tried desperately to adapt. Their bioships began firing randomly, hoping to hit something by accident. But human ships were designed for this kind of chaos. Their shields used quantum uncertainty as a defense, making it impossible to predict exactly where the ship was at any given moment. Admiral Yang Sujin called from the weapons bay. The quantum uncertainty generators are working better than we hoped. Enemy weapons keep missing us because they can't target something that exists in multiple locations simultaneously. Daeho watched the tactical display with growing amazement. In less than 5 minutes of combat, they had destroyed over 30,000 swarm bioships. The aliens' perfect coordination had become their greatest weakness when faced with perfect chaos. "Sir, I'm reading massive confusion in their communication networks," Bay reported from his station. "The hive mind is overloading trying to process all the random data. Some bioships are just floating dead in space." Young Captain Hen Wu had moved his small ship incredibly close to the planet's surface, using the gravity well to perform impossible maneuvers. His nanoswarms were eating through swarm ground forces like a plague of metal insects. "Admiral, I've reached the survivor camp. Xanthara and her people are still alive, but barely." "Can you extract them?" "Working on it, sir." "The nanoswarms are clearing a landing zone." Meanwhile, Captain Minho's dreadnought had somehow ended up in the exact center of the enemy formation, spinning like a tornado while his temporal mines created a maze of time distortions around him. Bioships that tried to approach him would get caught in time loops, firing the same shot over and over again for subjective hours while only seconds passed in normal time. "This is beautiful," Minho said over the communication system, his voice filled with the joy of a master craftsman practicing his art. "I've got about 3,000 enemy ships trapped in temporal fields. They'll be stuck there for the next 6 hours. Dr. Yoon was studying the enemy's behavior patterns with fascination. "Sir, the swarm is actually trying to retreat. I've never seen anything like this in their tactical records. For the first time in their species' history, they're running away." On the main screen, they could see it happening. The remaining 20,000 bioships were pulling back from the planet, moving away from the human fleet as fast as their organic engines could carry them. "They're afraid," Somin said with wonder in her voice. "An enemy that has conquered half the galaxy is actually afraid of us. Should we pursue them?" Park Ji-woo asked. Dae-Ho thought for a moment, watching the swarm flee toward the outer system. "No, our mission was to save the survivors, not to win the war. Let them go. Let them tell their hive mind what human chaos can do to alien order." The battle was over. In exactly 4 minutes and 37 seconds, a human fleet of 47 ships had defeated a void swarm force of 53,000 bioships. They had lost only 3 vessels, and those were due to human error rather than enemy action. "All ships report status," Daeho ordered. One by one, his captains checked in. "Minimal damage. Weapon systems functioning. Crews exhausted but alive." "Hen Wu, what's your status on the surface?" "Sir, I've got all 300 survivors aboard my ship. They're staring at me like I'm some kind of god. I think we may have made an impression." Daeho smiled for the first time in days. "Bring them up to the flagship. I think it's time we introduced ourselves properly to the galaxy." The war that had raged for 3 centuries was effectively over. Not because the void swarm had been destroyed, but because they had encountered something they could not understand, could not predict, and could not defeat. They had met humanity, and chaos had triumphed over order. The transport shuttle carrying the alien survivors docked with Admiral Daeho's flagship 3 hours after the battle ended. The human crew watched through windows as 300 beings from 5 different species stepped aboard their ship. Most walked slowly, still shocked by what they had witnessed. Others needed medical help, their bodies damaged by the crash and the war. Commander Xanthara was among the last to board. Her pale blue skin was marked with cuts and burns, but her silver eyes were bright with something that had been missing for months: hope. When she saw Admiral Daeho waiting for her, she stopped and stared at him like she was seeing a miracle. "You are human," she said in careful English. "Your species was just a rumor, stories from the edge of the galaxy. We thought you were myths. We're very real," Daeho replied. "And we're sorry we didn't arrive sooner." Xanthara looked around at the human ship's interior. Everything was different from alien vessels. Where coalition ships were designed with mathematical precision and perfect efficiency, the human ship seemed to have been built by controlled chaos. Corridors curved in unexpected directions. Systems were arranged in ways that made no logical sense but somehow worked perfectly. "How?" she asked. "How did you defeat them so easily?" "We fought for 300 years with the combined might of 5 civilizations. You destroyed them in minutes." Captain Lee Somin stepped forward, having finished analyzing the battle data. "Commander, may I ask you something?" In all your years of fighting the swarm, did your alliance ever try truly random tactics? Random tactics? That makes no sense. Military strategy requires planning, coordination, logical thinking. Exactly, So-min smiled. That's why you could never beat them. The swarm learned to predict logical thinking. They adapted to planned strategies. But they never learned to handle pure chaos. Dr. Yoon Jae-sung joined the conversation, carrying a datapad filled with analysis. Commander, your species and the others in the coalition all evolved through cooperation and order. Your minds are designed to find patterns, to create logical solutions. It's a strength in most situations, but not against the swarm. Against the swarm, it became a weakness. They could predict your logical responses because they think logically too. But humans ... double quote Zoom paused, trying to find the right words. Humans evolved differently. We evolved through constant conflict, competing against each other for millions of years. Our minds are designed to be unpredictable, Zenthara was trying to understand. You fight by not having a plan? We fight by having too many plans, said Captain Min-ho, who had just arrived from his ship. Every human pilot makes different decisions in the same situation. We don't coordinate because coordination makes us predictable. Chief Engineer Yang Soo-jin approached the group, still wearing her work uniform from the weapons bay. Commander, would you like to see our reality distortion cannons? I think you'll find them interesting. They toured the ship together, and Zenthara grew more amazed with each section they visited. The human weapons were based on principles that coalition scientists had declared impossible. The quantum uncertainty generators violated several laws of physics that aliens considered absolute. This weapon makes things exist in multiple states at once, Yang explained, showing them the main cannon. Most species would never build something like this because it's too dangerous and unpredictable. But you built it anyway? Because it's dangerous and unpredictable, Yang grinned. Humans have a saying, if it's stupid but it works, it's not stupid. In the medical bay, coalition survivors from different species were being treated by human doctors. The injured aliens were amazed by human medical technology, which seemed to work by trial and error rather than precise scientific method. You use medicines that haven't been fully tested? Asked a Nexari crystal being in surprise. We test them on ourselves first, replied Dr. Kim Hanna, the chief medical officer. Human medicine advances through controlled risks. We try new treatments because they might work, not because we're sure they will work. That seems illogical. Logic isn't everything, Dr. Kim said gently. Sometimes the best solutions come from trying impossible things. Meanwhile, on the bridge, Admiral Daeho was receiving communications from across the galaxy. Word of the human victory had spread faster than light through quantum communication networks. Alien civilizations that had been hiding from the swarm were suddenly asking questions about these mysterious humans. Sir, we're getting contact requests from 47 different species, reported Lieutenant Colonel Bae Sung-min. They all want to know about our military capabilities. And what should we tell them? Commander Zenthara, who had been listening, spoke up. Tell them the truth. Tell them that chaos has defeated order. Tell them that the galaxy finally has hope again. Captain Lee So-min was working with coalition tactical officers, teaching them human military philosophy. The aliens struggled to understand concepts that seemed to contradict everything they knew about warfare. You teach your pilots to disobey orders? Asked the Threx insectoid officer. We teach them to think for themselves, So-min explained. A good order followed blindly might fail. A bad order modified by a smart pilot might succeed. But how do you maintain coordination without central control? We don't maintain coordination, we maintain communication. Each pilot makes their own decisions based on what they see in their situation. It's messy, but it works. Lieutenant Kim Hyun-woo, now promoted to commander for his actions during the battle, was demonstrating human fighter tactics to young alien pilots. They watched in confusion as he performed maneuvers that made no tactical sense. Why did you fly straight at those enemy ships instead of using evasive maneuvers? Asked a young Kelani pilot. Because they expected me to use evasive maneuvers, Hyung-woo replied. Sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is exactly what the enemy thinks you won't do. That's backwards thinking. That's human thinking. Over the following days, as the human fleet helped repair damaged coalition vessels and assisted with relief efforts on the planet below, the aliens began to understand what made humans different. It wasn't superior technology or greater numbers. It was a completely different way of thinking about problems. Commander Park Ji-woo worked with coalition engineers to share human weapons technology. But he discovered something important. The weapons wouldn't work for alien crews. The quantum uncertainty generators require the operator to think randomly, he explained to a group of Valerie technicians. Your minds are too orderly, you can't generate true chaos. Then how can we defend ourselves if the swarm returns? You can't. Not alone. But if you work with humans, if you combine our chaos with your order, you might create something neither of us could achieve separately. This led to the formation of something new, mixed crews with humans and aliens working together. Human unpredictability guided by alien precision. Alien technology enhanced by human creativity. 6 months later, Admiral Deho stood on the bridge of his flagship, now serving as the command vessel for the reformed Galactic Alliance. The human fleet had grown to include ships from dozens of species, all crewed by mixed teams learning to fight in the human style. Sir, long-range sensors are detecting void swarm movement near the Vega system, reported Captain So-min, now serving as the Alliance's chief tactical officer. How many ships? About 15,000, sir. It looks like they're testing our response. Deho smiled. Alert all Alliance fleets. Time to show them that chaos is contagious. The new fleet that responded to the swarm incursion was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships flew alongside Aldari mine vessels, their crews, sharing thoughts and random impulses. Nixari crystal ships used human-designed reality scramblers powered by their natural quantum properties. Vorthax storm riders carried human nanoswarms that fed on electrical energy. The battle lasted only minutes. The Void Swarm, faced with an enemy that combined alien technology with human unpredictability, retreated once again. This time, they retreated permanently beyond the galactic rim, unwilling to face an opponent they could never understand or defeat. Commander Zenthara, now serving as the Alliance's diplomatic coordinator, sent a message to every civilization in the galaxy. For 300 years, we believed that order could defeat chaos. The humans taught us that sometimes chaos is the order we need. Admiral Deho's final report to Earth Command was simple. Mission accomplished. The galaxy is safe. Humanity has found its place among the stars, not as conquerors but as the force that reminds the universe that impossible things happen every day. The human motto that had saved the galaxy became the Alliance's new military doctrine. Embrace the unpredictable, for in chaos lies victory. And across the galaxy, alien children learned a new saying. When everything seems hopeless, call the humans. They specialize in impossible things. The war was over, the galaxy was free, and chaos had triumphed over order, just as humanity had always known it would.